So we're very lucky today to have award-winning Sapna Pieroux, who, did I pronounce that right? Pieroux? I've never heard it.
You did, yeah, that'll do.
I love it. Who not only is she an Amazon bestseller, she knows branding inside out. You know, you talk and look at that, look at her book. She's wearing her brand colors. You can't argue with this woman when it comes to branding.
Yeah,
All right.
all on brand.
We're really lucky to have her here. I attended one of her close sessions to try and learn about branding. And by the time I finished looking through my book, there was just so many notes. She just throws so much information at you. If you've got a pen, you got some paper, you're going to need to take some notes. So thank you so much, Sapna.
Well, listen to the playback.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let you take it over from here for the next 20 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, then. Right. So we've got 28 slides, 20 minutes. I am going to be going quite fast, but I didn't want to leave any of the stuff out. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to just share my screen. Oh, there's somebody coming in. Shall I just let them in? Right, I'm going to share my screen. And today's talk is about build your brand, build your business. Are you seeing the smaller screen or the bigger screen? I think I need to share desktop too. I'm not very good. I'm good at branding. I'm not very good at tech. So just bear with me while we get set up. Can you see my second desktop?
Yep, there you go. Business as usual.
Perfect. Right. So today we're going to talk about how building your brand can build your business. I'm going to rattle through. Who am I? I am Sapna Pieroux. I'm a speaker. I'm a brand mentor for a national program called Shifts to Success, which helps police officers and other members of the services move out of the police and into a lifetime of entrepreneurship. And I teach them all about brand and why it's important. As Colleen said, I'm a multi-award-winning business person, author, and I'm also a brand mentor for the Westmont Enterprise Hub at the University of West London, and I've just also become a guest lecturer at the Hult International Business School. So that's all fun and games. And in January, my book came out. It's called Let's Get Visible, and it will help any business owner, whatever stage, startup or not, or established, to get brand clarity, stand out in your industry, and supercharge your business growth. So it won an award. It came out in January, and it won an award in March for Startup Inspiration at the Business Book Awards. So I was particularly chuffed with that one. We will crack on. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is what is brand. So a lot of people get confused between, I get asked all the time, what is brand, what is branding, and what is personal branding, and what's the difference? So I'm just quickly going to give you an overview. Brand is actually not your logo. If you're thinking your brand is your logo, and a lot of people do, your brand is actually every single touch point of your company. So that's when people land on your website, or you send them a booking form, or they meet someone from your company, or they receive some products or services from you. The brand is actually the sum of everything a company does and perceived by others. Now, this bit's really important, because if your brand fails to deliver on its brand promise, on what you say you're going to do, then this is where you can end up getting bad reviews, and that's not great for business. So, so brand is actually every single touch point. Your branding is, if you can imagine, well, this is your branding, is your brand promise made tangible, because until you have your brand is kind of just in the air, and it's really difficult for people to see or picture. So your branding is, again, not just your logo, but it is your logo. If you think about an iceberg, and the logo is right at the tip of the iceberg, it's the most visible part of that iceberg, and it can be seen for miles because it goes across everything. What's above the water, though, is your branding, and that is typeface, color, imagery, all of that stuff is all part of your branding. And it makes the brand promise tangible and visible. And once things become visible, they become more real to consumers. Your personal branding centers around you as an individual. So that is how you present yourself. It's when you show up on screen or in person, in the days when we could turn up in person, and it's how you present yourself, but it's also online. It's how you present yourself on your social media. It's in the videos that you put out there, the talks you give, the webinars that you appear on, like this one. And for example, my personal branding, when I'm on, I always, when I'm on working and speaking, I always wear red, because I realized that had become actually an expectation. I got told off once for not wearing red. Right, so now, why is building a brand important, and what is the significance of Big Ben? So did you know, normally it'd be more interactive, we've got a lot to rattle through, I'd normally ask you this, that the average person scrolls through 96 meters of social media a day. Just think about that. That's the height of Big Ben. That's the significance of the Big Ben. I'm not going to read these numbers out, but there's a lot of stuff going on online, right? So how on earth do you stand out, right? Your brand has got, we used to say less than 6 seconds to make a great first impression. It's probably less than that online, because if people are scrolling really fast through social media, you've probably got less than a second to make a great first impression. And that is basically down to your visual. So if your visual isn't, there's a lot more to brand, and I've said your brand's not just your logo, and it's more about the visual screen, but you need to have that bit on point. So, because it doesn't matter how great a product or service you have, that simply won't matter if you're not being seen. You need to stand out from all of those messages that are coming out, right, on social media and wherever. And as the late great Dr. Seuss said, why fit in when you were born to stand out? So the whole of my my ethos is about getting you as a business owner to stand out from your competition, so that you can visually represent your point of difference, but also so that you catch their attention in the first place. If it doesn't matter how good you are, if you're not catching their attention, you've lost a sale. Or if you're catching their attention for the wrong reasons. I'm going to share with you the number one mistake that entrepreneurs make when they're trying to build their brand. And I put this into a very neat little diagram. I created this, and it's called the Do, Say, See model. So there's 3 parts to building a brand. What you do, which is your basically the nuts and bolts of your business, the product or service that you're going to sell, the equipment or staff or premises that you need to actually produce that, and your method of delivery. Is it one-to-one? Is it one-to-many? Is it needing a van or whatever? What kind of delivery do you? It's the nuts and bolts, otherwise you don't have a business. The next thing that people will focus on is their say. And their say is the written and spoken word of how they communicate their value. If you don't communicate your business, again, you don't have a business, because nobody will know about it. So your say is your social media, it's the website blurb, it's the brochure blurb, it's how you give people your pitch, your elevator pitch. It's when you're standing up and talking. It may be that you go so far to write a book about what you do. All of that is your say, because you're conveying you're articulating your value to your audience, and you need that to create a business. The last thing, and I'll say the last thing, this is the mistake that I've seen working with entrepreneurs almost exclusively for the last 5 years, is that it's the C. Now, the C is not just your logo. It's not just your branding. It's actually your first impression. It's the first impression people get of you, of your business, of your website, of your brochures, of anything that they see, of your premises that you conduct business in, of the background of your Zoom meeting. You don't want pants and an ironing board in the background if you're trying to look professional. So the C is the first impression. And if you fail to have the right C, as we've talked about already, you can risk being invisible, because you will lose out to your better looking competitors. Not better looking. Aren't we shallow? But it's true. So the other danger zones, though, there are danger zones if you miss out any of those. Each of these is really important, the do, the say, and the see, like a 3-legged stool. If you take one away, the whole thing topples, right? So there's a weakness to, if you do the right things and you've got a whizzy looking website, but then have you ever been on those websites where you don't understand what they are selling, or how they can help you, or you simply can't find the information that you need when you need it? You click away. You've lost sales because you're an incoherent brand if you're not making sense and clearly articulating your value to the world. The worst type, in my opinion, is the insincere brand. This is when your see and your say are on point. You've got a whizzy looking website or a slick salesperson. The patter's great. The copy's great. You fail to deliver on your brand promise, then you are an insincere brand. And this is where you get negative reviews. But as you can see, you need all of those things to align in order to build your brand. You can't take one of those out and build a strong, solid brand. So that's do say see. So when I was writing my book, I came out, so everything that I've always done has been through 25 years of experience. I qualified as a graphic designer, did a degree in graphic design, but then I realized that they weren't preparing me for the world of business. So, so I actually went and did a postgrad in marketing, because I realized that most designers don't understand marketing people or business people. Most business people actually don't understand design, which is why I'm here right now. So I thought, well, if I could bridge that gap of communication, then maybe that would give me my USP, which it has turned out to be the case. So, so I came up with this 6-step vision process. And it's 6 steps because it's vision, it's VISION, vision, inner brand, stand out, are 3 sections which are all about strategy. So you can do that on your own. You don't even need a designer to help you on that bit. And then the ION, image, outcomes, nurture, are all about design. I'm going to take you very quickly through these. We've only got 20 minutes and I'm already halfway through. Oh my gosh. Right. So, we use Pinterest to do this. So I ask clients to think about their 5 aspirational brands when they start working with me. By the way, this process works so well that I can actually create someone's brand in a day. We do the first half in the morning and the second half in the afternoon. So look at your 5 aspirational brands and think about companies that you look at and you go, one day I want my company to be thought of like them. And we ask for 5, and think outside your industry. Don't just think inside your industry, because that's where the fresh thinking comes, is outside your industry. You just look inside your industry, you're going to end up with a Me Too brand. One example for us was John Lewis, for example. We're a brand consultancy, so John Lewis is probably not the coolest brand, but for our customers, that meant that they knew that they were getting knowledge, experience, a safe pair of hands, a guaranteed great outcome, and great customer service. And we treat our staff wonderfully. So John Lewis for us is an aspirational brand. The next thing I say is for vision is you look at your vision, your company vision, where you are now, where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. That's because any branding that you have produced for you should really last you 3 to 5 years, and then you build on it. You know, you need that long length of time for people to get familiar with you, and obviously, you know, recognize you when you show up, and recognition builds familiarity, which then goes to know, like, and trust. Your customer vision is who your customer is and where they are now and where they want to be as a result of spending with you. And the one key question that I ask my clients is, what's the transformation that you're bringing to their lives? Believe me, you are bringing some kind of transformation to their lives, because they have a question. If they have a problem, they will spend money. So the inner brand is what I call the inner brand. It's not an industry term, but it fitted in with my word vision, my acronym, and my company's called InnerVisions, so it went together quite well. The inner brand is, again, 3-parter. It's your brand values, your brand personality, and your brand voice. So brand values are really not, you know, the non-negotiable parts of your brand. I could spend a whole 20 minutes talking about values, but it's the stuff that you need to convey to your audience, because people will, when they connect with a brand, they feel more loyal, and they will connect with brands that they feel share their values. Again, for example, one of our values is that we are people focused. That doesn't mean customer focused, it means people focused, which means we are focused on our people, on our customers, on our staff, on our suppliers, and the world at large. We give a percentage of what we make to charity, at least 1% of everything we make, and then ad hoc donations throughout the year as well. So that's one of our values, is that we want to help the world. Another one of our values is about equality and diversity and inclusion. So that's a really important one for us as well. Personality is, if you have those values, and I say look for 3 to 7 values. Any more than that is really hard to convey throughout your brand and branding. Personality is, what kind of person would your brand be? If your brand was a person, how, you know, what kind of personality would they have? Is it friendly? Is it professional? Is it cool? Is it, you know, funky? Is it what kind of personality do they have? Are they excitable? Are they calm? And then out of that comes the brand voice. So that's about, it's not just the name and the strapline, but it's also the language you use. What kind of copy do you write? And is it, you know, what kind of vocabulary do you use? And also, importantly, what kind of vocabulary do you not use? But a tip that I will always give all my clients, though, is they write too much copy. So whatever copy you've written, halve it on your website, on your brochures, just halve it, because people don't have time to read stuff, right? The average reading age, the ideal average reading age for business communications, by the way, is age 11. 11. That's not because people are stupid, it's because they don't have time. And there's a great resource, thewriter.com. If you've written your copy and paste it into thewriter.com, it will give you a reading age. The reading age for my book was actually age 12. So I did that with a tractor. So it makes it really easy to understand. And that's what a lot of the reviews say. Standout's my favorite part of the vision process. This is when we, because if you don't stand out, you're going to blend in, right? And we don't want you to blend in. My big shtick is about getting people to stand out in their industry. So, which is why we've used red for our colors, is a standout color. But so we do a competitor analysis, and this is really reassuring because actually you see how bad the level of design is out there. And just with a modicum of thought and an effort, we can make you look better than your competitors. Remember, people will go on first impressions first. And then we look at related industries, because sometimes you're not going to find that inspiration within your own industry. I worked with a tiler a few months ago. He wanted to build a tiling business. Most tilers' logos are absolutely dreadful. So we looked outside of that industry for, again, fresh thinking, and we looked at the world of interior design, and we got a lot more lovely inspiration from there. So now his logo, when you go back to the tiling world, actually looks amazing compared to his competitors. So he looks more polished and more professional before he's even uttered a word. And then I also say, look at your fad brands as well, because they may have some design inspiration as well. But it's not about copying. It's not about copying. Now, when I work with a client, we do this bit in the afternoon. Once we've got all the strategy stuff. Oh, by the way, the other thing that's great about the standout phase is it gets me, or if you work with another designer, to really understand what your aesthetic is, what you like, what you don't like, and also so we understand what industry norms are and industry cliches. So you want to have enough norms about your visual identity so people, so you don't look like everybody else, if that makes sense. Right, so image. So once we've got all that, gathered all that information, then we start to pull it together and we start to choose the right type, color, and imagery for your brand. That's all your brand is made up of. Combination of your branding, sorry, is a combination of typography, color, and imagery. A couple of little case studies. I may not have time to go through all of them, but this was the before for Antoinette. When she came to me, she had a real mishmash of assets. All the colours were all over the place, the typefaces were all over the place, the logo was absolutely awful. The only thing that she had to keep was the book, and that wasn't actually too bad, but it wasn't even using her brand colours. So we went through a rebrand. We had to keep the green because it had already been tested on social media and went down really well with the target audience. So that was the after. As you can see, before, after, we ended up going to keeping a grey as a grounding colour, keeping the purple, very similar purple, and keeping that green, but also then adding in a rich blue and a rich green. So the blue and the purple kind of talk about authority and professionalism and knowledge, and the greens are all about nurturing and growth. And as soon as Antoinette saw her new logo as well, that was very, very different. We had to keep the same format because of the way she used it. You know, she looked at that and she went, oh my God, can you just do my business cards, please? Because I can't bear to look at my old logo. We also changed the strap line, which was some talent development, very, very vague, could have been Simon Cowell, to develop leaders, deliver strategy and drive results. And she feels, I'm not going to read this all because of time, but she is now winning business that she wouldn't have won before. She's ended up working with the World Health Organization. She ended up putting her prices up as a result. One of her packages was £1,600 before she worked with me. She put it up to £2,600 after working with me, and nothing else had changed, by the way. So she made her return on investment really quickly. Outcomes are what happens when you work with me. So a lot of people say to me, oh yeah, I've had my branding done, and then they give me a logo, and that's not your branding. Your branding's not your logo. Your brand's not your logo. That's just a logo. So the outcomes when people work with me, as a very minimum, are that you get brand guidelines, which then include usage on your color and imagery. And from that, you can then create your brand assets, which are anything from stationery to brochures to websites to business cards to everything. Once you've got your brand guidelines, it saves you so much time and money. You wouldn't even believe it. And also, as you scale your business and get other people to create things for you, it keeps you on brand. The last bit is nurture of the vision process. And this is kind of, it's a process that I go through with bigger clients when they need to roll out their brand, because it's like, once you get your brand guidelines, what next? What do we do with them? It's like a baby and I don't know what to do with it. So we help our clients. But also the other part of nurture is about your brand evolving over time. Evolution is natural, although I would say consistency is key. Don't start changing things too quickly. But as your business changes, scales up, get new products or services come in, or time over time, things start to look a little bit dated. You need to sort of update, but have a strategy. Don't just change something because you're bored, because that's a really bad reason to change anything. This is the before for another client, Sarah. She came to me again. As you can see here, her branding is all over the shop, 3 different styles of illustration, use of Comic Sans on that water bottle, big no Comic Sans, and a very unclear logo for somebody, or a logo without impact, someone called Coaching Impact. And what on earth was that thing on the wall? Was it a moon? Was it a porthole? I had no idea. So we kind of revamped. She didn't want to rebrand, but we tidied up the brand. Also, that mucky cream color that was behind all the images reproduced really badly and inconsistently across various different platforms. So that was a problem. So we took that out. We kept her color scheme. We added extra blues in there, the shades of blue. We cleaned up that mirror. It was meant to be a mirror, so now it looks more like a mirror. We made her logo have more impact. We pulled the styles of illustration all into one style of illustration, so they will look consistent across the platforms. And as you can see there, they look a lot more cohesive than they did there. And it just made her look a lot stronger, a lot more on brand. So that was something that we went through a brand assessment with her before we worked, and that gave us the roadmap. Another couple of very, very quick before and afters. This is the before for a company called Renosash. This was, the last 2 case studies were done over a matter of months. This one was done in a day. This was Chris's website and branding before. It was absolutely painful watching him going through the different iterations on Facebook when he wanted to redesign his own logo. Tip, don't redesign your own logo. That was his own logo. His own photography on the website looked awful. Average sale, 10 to 14,000 pounds when they renovate sash windows, and this did not look like a quality brand. And that logo had been designed by himself and then tidied up by a designer that they'd found. But as I said to him, you can't polish a turd. So he'd already engaged me by the time I told him that. This was the after. In a day of working with us, we had identified who the customer was and what they were really looking for. And it was elegance. They have period properties. They've got a bit of money if they're spending between 10 to 14 grand. They want superior sash window renovations, not just sash window specialists. It also put him a head and shoulders above his local competition, who was actually a national advertiser. And part of his brief was, I want to look better than them. So we made him look better than them. We did the swag on the Renaissance, just a very elegant logo there. Made the H a little bit higher than it should be, again to make it elegant. The positioning statement superior just made him feel great. And and also we sort of identified that the sort of people that would hire him would probably want that van on their driveway, because they want everyone to know that they're getting superior sash window renovations, not just any old window renovations. And then if you look at the image, the first one on the left was taken on his iPhone. It was portrait, it was the wrong format, and it looks like he was casing the joint, not showing off his work. Whereas I said I encouraged him to look at photography from the inside, because actually that's the customer's point of view. They're going to look out at these renovated windows from inside. So think about it from the customer's point of view. The colours, he actually said to me, oh God, I wish I'd worked with you before I bought my van, because I'm not going to be on brand now. And I said, no, we'll take some colours from your van. So those 3 greys on the left were actually taken from parts of that photograph. And he wanted gold, because a lot of tradesmen seem to like gold, because they think that gold equals classy. I steered him away from anything too bling, and I gave him a colour we called old gold and encouraged him to use it just in small amounts to keep it classy. And that's just an image that we use for his social media. I'm not going to be able to read this, but you'll be able to freeze frame this if you're watching it on replay. This was the longest testimonial I think I've ever got. But the real thing was that he said, he felt it was empowering, and it gave not just him something to be proud of, but something for his team to live up to as well, which was a really interesting take on that. And that was a rebrand. I mean, the one day branding workshop works for new brands like this. So this is just like the output that you get from a brand day, and then it allows you to go on and create assets. So she created this website, or with a website designer, but with those brand guidelines in place, and she manages to create some stuff that's really, really very beautiful. And I think I've just gone over, but if anybody has got any questions, I'd love to hear them. And if not, then I'm just leaving that up for a second so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Sapna Pieroux. If you want to find out more about the one-day branding workshop, we've actually got a brand Futures workshop. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll find out more about that, where we're going to be talking about the future of brand. That is a paid for workshop, but it's only £49 and it's 2 hours, so we can get to go into this in a lot more depth. And if you want a free book sample, you can go to letsgetvisibleBook.com, and I will send you a free book sample for your time and effort. Thank you very much for your time today.
Wow, that was
only
amazing.
23 minutes.
Woo! Gosh, I'm feeling hot just imagining you just going through that really fast. Yeah, I think this one is worth a replay, folks, so we can get onto it. It's on the Facebook, and I'm going to stop recording now.